Are you thinking about moving to Central Florida? Today, I'm going to share 10 reasons why people regret moving here. And some of these reasons can significantly impact your life, so stay tuned. Hey y'all, my name is Chandra Patterson, and on this channel, I share what it's like to eat, sleep, live, and play in the Central Florida area. So if you're looking to learn everything there is to know about Central Florida, then click the subscribe button and ring the bell so you're notified when my videos come out weekly. And if there's anything you would love to know more about, please leave it in the comments. I'll do what I can to help you with that. So let's discuss why people regret moving here. First of all, Florida is jam-packed with people, and it's not slowing down. So if you're one of those who walk around saying, I hate people, and really mean it, you may not like living here. There is a lot of people. So you might see images of people running on the beach and think, oh, that looks so peaceful. Well, it is, but it's also 4 a.m. and all the crazies aren't awake yet. Or maybe you're seeing the only crazy for being awake and running at 4 a.m. Who knows? Either way, there's millions of people living in Florida. In fact, close to 23 million people call Florida home, making it one of the most populous states in the U.S. And not only that, millions of tourists visit Florida every single day. So putting millions on top of millions is too many people. We have more than 137 million people visit Florida every year. So at 8 a.m., the beaches may be overflowing with people, along with the roads, restaurants, shopping malls, and grocery stores. Florida is the 8th highest densely populated state in the USA. We have 417 people per square mile. Now, if you're coming from New Jersey, Rhode Island, or any of the Northeast regions, we may seem rural to you. But being 8th out of 50 states is still a lot of people. And on top of that, Orlando is currently the 4th largest city in Florida, with a population of over 307,000 people. That's according to FloridaDemographics.com. But if you're someone who likes your space and people easily annoy you, then moving to Orlando may give you culture shock. It's okay, you'll get over it though. I mean, it takes a few years, but you do get used to it. So when you have a lot of people, of course, there's a lot of traffic. So that takes us to number 2. Between all the people and lack of public transportation in Orlando leads us to heavy traffic and home to one of the deadliest roads in the U.S., Interstate 4. Whether it's a bottleneck at the I-4 and 75 interchange, or maybe it's the theme park congestion in Orlando, or just a rush hour, you will definitely be spending some sort of time at a standstill on the roads here. And if that's something you're not used to doing, I'm here to give you the best tip ever. Make sure you have a full tank of gas and an empty bladder. Yep, there is nothing worse than not knowing how long you'll be sitting in traffic. And these two things are taken care of. I-4 is one of the deadliest roads in the U.S., and what's even worse is most of the deaths that occurred are in the Orlando area versus anywhere else along the I-4. I have a video called Navigating Orlando that shares toll roads that you could take if you prefer avoiding I-4. So be on the lookout for that. Number 3. The home prices have risen significantly. Home prices have been on the rise all around the country since COVID, and Florida had one of the highest price hikes. In fact, Florida had the highest home price rise on the entire East Coast. In the last 2 years, Florida home prices rose 35%, which was the highest increase on the East Coast, with Georgia and the Carolinas seeing a little less than 30%. The average home price in Florida is around $392,000 at the end of 2023, and the state will continue to see home prices increase thanks to the warm climates, outdoor activities, the beaches, and everyone moving here for the quality of life. I know we're talking about cons, but the pros clearly beat the cons. But because Florida has a little over 1,200 people moving here every day, I don't foresee this changing. Statistics show the majority of people who moved here came from California and New York during COVID. And you moved here for a reason. Florida wasn't in lockdown. So if you're moving here to have a little more freedom, please remember that with this upcoming election. I don't ever talk politics on here, but I needed to put that out there. We enjoy what we have in Florida, and we want to keep it that way. So don't come flocking in and attempting to change us. Moving on to the fourth one. It's hotter than Hades here. If you don't like the heat or sweating, then you may not like living here. In the summertime anyway. You always hear people mention moving to Florida for the weather. However, it's a different breed during the summertime. And that runs from May through probably like the middle of October. That's when you could expect temperatures in the 80s and 90s, high humidity, and a lot of thunderstorms. In fact, it gets so hot, my ducks melt on my dashboard of my Jeep from time to time. If you own a Jeep or you know someone who does, then you know what I'm saying. If not, let me explain that, because it's a Jeep thing. So if you like the way somebody else's, so whoever drives Jeeps, if you like the way someone else's Jeep looks, then you duck them. So that means you put a duck with a note, like tied around its neck, on their Jeep that says, "You've been ducked, nice Jeep." Then we just stick it in our windshield. It's just something fun. Somebody started, I don't know when, and it's still going on today. It's kind of like the Jeep wave, and you'll see signs that say it's a Jeep thing. I don't know. It's like being in a cult, I guess. But it's the cult of Jeep lovers, I suppose. Anyway, back to the hot summers that melt my ducks. It's muggy, sticky, and uncomfortable. Sometimes it's downright miserable, and your AC bill will not let you forget that. Florida's kilowatt per hour isn't necessarily the highest around, but it's how much electricity that we need to stay comfortable. And in the summertime, that's a lot. I know some people that had power bills over $600 last summer. Ours has never went over 400, thank goodness, knock on wood, but the heat and the moisture, along with that comes hurricanes. And our annual hurricane season is from June 1st to November 30th. So these storms can cause damage, as we know, to both property and people, which does make them a little scary, but depending on what part of Florida you live in, the greater or less the threat. By the time hurricanes hit Orlando area, they're not typically a threat to your life. It's the flooding and the possible loss of power after it passes that's bad. So, but we have hurricanes, and other areas of the country have natural disasters too. Like they have wildfires, we know, landslides, earthquakes, and even winter storms, which all of those can impact your life as well. I don't know which is worse, 90s and no power or sub-zero and no power. And thankfully, I've never had to experience either one. So this chart here shows the area in the US in 2023 that cost billions of dollars with the weather and climate disasters. So it's not just Florida that you really need to be concerned about. The bright side is hurricanes give you time to evacuate. But if you choose not to evacuate, there may be times where you wish you did. Such as 2017 with Irma. Disney even closed for the first time since they opened in 1971. That's when you know things are bad. 73% of the state lost power, and some in Orlando had no power for almost a few weeks. So anyway, our family's been fortunate, and we haven't had to deal with that either. Florida is also known for being the lightning strike capital of the United States. In fact, here's an interesting fact. The area between Tampa and Orlando sees the highest frequency of cloud-to-ground lightning strikes than any other area in the United States. The lightning can get crazy here, and either you love it or you hate it. So, enough of the weather. Let's move on to number 6. We are home to many dangerous animals. Florida is a special place with plenty of dangerous things you won't find in a lot of other areas. The main one being alligators, which you can find in any body of fresh water in Florida. The saying goes, if there's water, there can be an alligator. It definitely makes you think before you go jumping in a lake. But not only do we have alligators, we also have crocodiles, which are farther south, bears, a variety of dangerous snakes, large birds of prey, and many things with sharp teeth that swim in the ocean. But If it doesn't have teeth, it probably has tentacles. They are also painful. Unfortunately, my youngest learned that the hard way. What he thought was a jellyfish just happened to be a man-o-war. I hope you guys have heard of that. I never did before moving here. But he got his sock and he picked it up because he didn't want to touch it. Not thinking anything about it, got back in the car, he put his socks on, and his foot started burning, swelling, turned red. They still have the tentacles in the sock. And when I mentioned large birds, I know that doesn't scare you, but owls and hawks here are known to grab small dogs and cats, flying away with them. Then, when we first moved here, we lived in a community that had a dog park, and we had an owl that frequently sat at the top of the light post, watching over the dog park. Well, if he were there were no small dogs around. It's crazy the things you have to think about here in Florida. And actually, Florida is the U.S. version of Australia. And since we have the most tropical climate in the country, we have a knack for attracting deadly wildlife of all shapes and sizes. So that leads us to number 7. Florida has also irritating insects, and lots of them, all shapes and sizes. Just like we're home to dangerous animals, there's also irritating insects that can drive you crazy. This is why so many of us have screen enclosures. It's not to keep the bears and the alligators out, because that clearly doesn't work. They help themselves to your pool regardless of the screen. I'm talking about the little no-see-em bugs. They're tiny little insects, you can barely see, hence the name. And then they hurt when they bite, then they could cause the non-stop itchy. In fact, they're so common here, you could actually buy screen enclosures that are small enough to keep them out. No-see-em screens, but that does cost a little extra out of the regular screens, but it might be worth it. There's also some mosquitoes. If someone tells you mosquitoes aren't that bad here, they are lying to you. In fact, Orange County used to be called Mosquito County before it changed over to Orange County, so that should tell you something. And if that doesn't bug you out, don't forget there's black widows and other venomous spiders, bees, wasps, tons of ants, and my favorite, giant flying cockroaches. Not really, but okay, enough of bugs. Number 8, we have sinkholes. I know a sinkhole sounds like something out of a bad movie, but they're real. In fact, our popular Lake Eola that's near downtown is there because of a sinkhole. But that was back in the 1800s, but there's still sinkholes being reported today. Sinkholes are giant holes in the ground that could swallow up land, homes, and whatever else is nearby. They actually get worse when it rains, and of course it rains all the time here. But the sinkhole, it actually has sucked people into them, and they've never been found. So it's really a crazy issue. You really can't make this stuff up. Florida's crazy. But it has the land underneath is like porous limestones, and the porous stones are full of tiny little holes, so it helps the flow of groundwater. But it also means that over time the acid will build up in the limestone, and then it starts breaking down the stone. So when the limestones break down underground, that means whatever was sitting on top of it will collapse. And there's your sinkhole. Although it's rare, it does happen. One day your house is there, and the next day it's gone. Florida is said to have more sinkholes than any other state in the USA, and this is because of the location and the climate. So that would be number 8. Let's move on to number 9, red tide. Red tide happens nearly every summer along the Florida coast. What's worse than flying cockroaches and being gobbled up by a sinkhole? Red tide, if you live close enough. If you aren't familiar with red tide, it's something that happens when algae blooms get out of control in the Gulf of Mexico, and they're harmful to the sea life because it depletes the fish of their oxygen, kills off a huge amount of sea life. Then all the dead sea life washes up onto the shore, and it sits in the Florida heat, causing a horrific smell. And it's not good for us to breathe in. So they actually shut the beaches down during that time. But if you don't live on the beach or within miles from the beach, then it won't impact you. The last con I want to mention is rapid inflation. Over the past several years, this has been caused by the influx of people that are moving here, and it's clashing with our limited housing market and the struggle to meet that increased demands. So this is driving up prices for both renters and buyers. My thoughts are, They must not know the cons of living in Florida, so be sure to share this video with them. Although it didn't stop me from moving here, so. With that said, there's more than 10 pros of why you should move here. I have a video on this as well, so be able to look out for that. And if you found this information helpful today, please give it a thumbs up. It will also help others find the information as well. And if you're looking to learn everything there is to learn about the Central Florida area, then hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you're notified when my videos come on weekly. And remember, if there's anything you want me to cover, please leave it in the comments. I would love to cover it for you. And until next time, take care.